Frank Sinatra, the voice so smooth it practically gave jazz a spine, the swagger so confident it made presidents ask for style tips, and the controversy so endless he could have written a tabloid all by himself. Yet behind the romantic ballads and glamour shots, you'll find a Hoboken kid with a battered eardrum, an unshakable dream, and the nerve to refuse any seat that wasn't center stage. Frank Sinatra was born in 1915, only child to Italian immigrants in Hoboken, New Jersey. A tough environment, a tough time. Young Sinatra's first real stage was his parents' bar, where he performed local gigs to amuse hard-nosed patrons. Not exactly Carnegie Hall, but it gave him a sense of the spotlight. His eardrum was torn during a difficult forceps birth, leaving a scar near his cheek. So from day one, his body literally felt the price of hustling to be heard. By his teen years, Frank Sinatra had decided on showbiz. He practiced singing by mimicking Bing Crosby and insisted local band leaders let him do a number. Some told him to buzz off, others saw the star power. Soon enough, he joined the Hoboken Four, winning a radio contest. Teenage mania was new, but the girls screamed anyway, giving Sinatra a taste of the mass adoration he'd eventually command. Then came the big bands, first with Harry James, then with Tommy Dorsey. Under Dorsey's band, Sinatra honed the fluid phrasing that made him the gold standard for vocalists. Audiences swooned. Other crooners tried to copy him, but his voice glided from note to note with mesmerizing ease. By the early 1940s, he was a full-blown phenomenon. Nightclub lines, fan clubs, paparazzi. He also caught the eye of Hollywood. The kid from Hoboken was shaping up to be a national obsession, ironically overshadowing his band leaders. But stardom can slip. After a feud over contracts with Dorsey, Sinatra struck out solo. This gamble paid off initially, but the mid-40s saw rumors swirl, ties to gangsters, arrogance, overshadowed by war heroes returning from overseas. The public's taste shifted, and for a painful stretch in the late 40s, Sinatra's career wobbled. Tabloids latched onto his personal life. Rocky marriage to Nancy Barbado, then an affair with Ava Gardner, fueling a meltdown in the press. Venues canceled, record sales dipped. People declared him washed up at 30, which in showbiz can be an early funeral. Then, the cinematic miracle. 1953's From Here to Eternity. Sinatra lobbied hard for the role of Private Maggio, overcame studio reluctance. Some claimed a rumored Mafia hand influenced casting, but that's never been proven, and he snagged an Oscar. Overnight, he soared back into the cultural spotlight. With that golden statue in hand, he roared into a second act, not just a singer, but an actor with range. Then came the iconic Reprise records, sold-out Sands gigs in Vegas, and that unstoppable Rat Pack synergy with Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. They embodied a new brand of cool, singing, laughing, boozing in public, turning lounge acts into can't-miss events. Sinatra's voice matured, leaning into new depth. Ballads like One for My Baby or In the Wee Small Hours showed a soulfulness that the earlier squeaky clean crooner lacked. He recorded concept albums before the phrase was even coined, shaping the mood from track to track. The world's top arrangers, Nelson Riddle, Gordon Jenkins, lined up to collaborate, giving Sinatra lush orchestrations that made your heart ache or your feet tap. Offstage, rumors kept swirling. Was he connected to the mob, or was it just a byproduct of playing Vegas circles? Did he leverage friendships with powerful figures to keep his career afloat? Sinatra never apologized for his social circle, brushing off the gossip with a smirk and a line about loyalty. He also championed civil rights decades before it was fashionable, telling segregated venues to jump off a cliff if they wouldn't admit his fellow artists of color. His temper flared often. He threw tantrums at photographers, stormed out of interviews, and demanded unwavering loyalty from his entourage. Yet the same man could be strangely generous, donating millions to charity under the radar and quietly helping out struggling artists. Contradiction was his middle name. He'd blow up in a rage, then turn around and fund someone's college tuition. Such extremes only fueled the legend. By the 1960s, the Rat Pack mania and the synergy with John F. Kennedy's presidential glamour made Sinatra look untouchable. But tastes kept shifting. The British invasion, rock and roll, the youth culture revolution. Sinatra sneered at the Beatles publicly, but they admired him privately. Meanwhile, he scored late career hits like Strangers in the Night and My Way, which ironically turned into a global anthem for going out on one's own terms. He even tried a farewell in 1971, only to come back by 1973, proving you can't retire a legend with an audience still yelling for encores. He carried on with concerts, television specials, and unstoppable touring well into his 70s. By the time he passed away in 1998 at age 82, he'd sold over 150 million records, snagged Oscars, Grammys, and the adoration and fear of countless peers. There is arguably no American singer who combines such vocal mastery with such a polarizing public persona. Sugar and spice, arrogance and charm, lightning in a bottle? Frank Sinatra remains an icon because he lived and sang on his own terms. He took hits from a battered eardrum, a struggling early band career, personal tragedies, mafia rumors, and turned them all into rocket fuel. He was human. He made mistakes, burned bridges, and played with fire. But he also redefined what it means to stand under a spotlight and own the stage. From the breathy high notes of his teenage heartthrob days to the growling power of My Way, Sinatra showed that sometimes the biggest success stories come from people too stubborn to quit.